Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. I haven't been making videos for a little while now, and I've decided I'm going to come back to making videos. So, in today's video, I'll be talking about user interfaces. User interfaces are usually said as UIs. UIs is the abbreviation of user interfaces. There will be other abbreviations I'll be using in this tutorial. This is what I'll be covering in this tutorial. Number 1, what are user interfaces? Number 2, UI, GUI, UX. What's the difference between these three? How can I start making user interfaces? And finally, how can I make GUIs in Roblox? Finally, I'll be covering some plugins you can get for free and use them to make your user interfaces even better when designing UIs on Roblox. So, number 1, what are user interfaces? User interfaces are things on your screen. For example, let's just say you get into a Roblox game. You load into the game and see things on your screen, right? You see things like buttons and labels and all sorts of things. So if we hop onto a game of Knightfall made by Forge Studios, the two main developers are SingleSided and FireExodus. So yeah, this is just an example, by the way. I'm going to turn volume off here. Okay, so if we load into the game right here, everything's loading in. 1 second. There we go. Everything's loading in, I know. It's taking some time actually. Let's go to settings, graphic mode. Oh, let's make it automatic actually. I forgot I put my graphics level so low. But anyways, as you can see, things are getting loaded in here. If we look in the picture, in this developer forum article, the Roblox Developer Forum is for all sorts of things related to developing on Roblox. Let's go back here. I'll have the link in the description down below for this dev forum article. But anyways, if we look in the picture here, there's the quests thing. This is kind of like a label right here. And there's a complete button and things. And there's a toggle button. This is kind of like an inventory and your level XP bar basically. Some more buttons right here. A label. This is your avatar in the game. Your level. I'm level 3 in the game. I have 45 health. Out of 45 health. There's my username right there. This is the speed and stamina. Then there's the Roblox menu button, the chat button, the leaderboard button and things. And there's a label right there. Hit R to open inventory. So this should be loaded in by now. Yeah, it's loaded in. Not completely yet, unfortunately. But this toggle panel button, if I click on it, the quest UI will go away. So basically, a quick summary of a user interface is basically objects on your screen. These buttons and labels and everything on your screen, those are called UIs. So that's what user interfaces are. So when you click on these buttons, you see UIs in them. Then there's a Game Pass UI right here. The frame opens up. They're giving you in-game things you can purchase. Like if you buy the 1.5 damage Game Pass, you will be doing 1.5 times more damage than you were originally doing. Then there's a loot boost times 2 coins. These are the Game Passes right here. This is a limited. Then there's sale and everything. Then there's developer products in the game, like in-game things, like gems and coins. You can buy gems 120 gems, 360 gems, 780 gems, and 1,800 gems. But yeah, so now we're moving on. UI, GUI, UX. What's the difference between these three? UIs are user interfaces, objects on your screen basically. GUI stands for graphical user interface. GUIs are basically a subset of UIs. UX stands for user experience. User experience is basically how the player or players feel about the UIs or GUIs. If they think the UIs are too big, too small, or other factors like this. This is user experience. Players' emotions on the UIs or GUIs. Now, how can I make GUIs on Roblox? First, have Roblox Studio open. Then go into a place of yours. I just went into a base place of mine. And now, we're going to want to make GUIs. So there's three kinds of GUIs. If we type GUIs right here, there's billboard GUI, there's a billboard GUI, screen GUI, and surface GUI. Surface GUI is, it renders its self, like the GUI renders its contained GUI objects flat against the face of a part. Like if I put in a part in workspace right here, I could apply the GUI here, and then I could put a frame or something on here, and then I could have a text label saying text, and then there would be a frame, a label saying text right on the surface of this part. I could do that on the base plate, whatever surface basically. Now for billboards. A billboard GUI, if you had a billboard in your game, a billboard model, you could put a frame, text labels, you can have text, buttons, all sorts of things on your billboard. A screen GUI is objects on your screen. Now, as I said, a GUI or a UI is basically objects on your screen. Now, in Roblox, there are three different types of GUIs. In other engines, such as Unity or something, there usually, I believe there isn't billboard GUIs or surface GUIs. Roblox is special from other game engines, and basically other external softwares or programs that make GUIs, they don't have things like screen GUI or billboard GUI. If you're on an external software / program, you'll actually have it a little different. You won't have to insert a screen GUI. You just insert frame and stuff. That's not how it is on an external software. You can just put in a rectangle by clicking R, then you can drag it like this, then it'll appear. You can just go, the properties aren't like this. There'll just be a couple properties actually. You can go to fill, that's basically color. You can add a color in it. You can add a border for it. Things like that. You probably don't understand what I'm saying. So let me show you what I mean. So if I put a frame in, usually you won't do that in external software. This is what I mean by a border, like a thing around the rectangle, the square. Let me just make the border size pixel more thicker. This is what I'm talking about. This is the border right here. People sometimes call this stroke, but on Roblox they call this borders. And on some other external software / program, they call it border. But some call it stroke. I'm going to call it border. So, anyways, you can put 7 GUI objects in any 3 of these GUIs. I'll only be focusing on screen GUIs. I may do another tutorial for billboard GUIs or surface GUIs, but I may not. So, I'm just going to be focusing on screen GUIs here. So, firstly, always name your GUIs. It's essential. For example, if you're making lots of GUIs, you need to know what you're making. Like, you need to search back to a GUI, what a past GUI you were working on. You have like tens of GUIs in your game, and all of them are named screen GUI. it'll get so unorganized and it'll just get messy. You want it to be clean and easy for you to find objects, GUI objects, and GUIs in your Roblox game. So always name your GUI objects and your GUIs. So I'm going to name this screen GUI first GUI, and in this I can put 7 GUI objects: a frame, a scrolling frame, text label, text button, text box, image button, and image label. So a frame is basically like this. You can make it big and small. It's basically containing all your labels and buttons and things. A scrolling frame, let's go back to UI here. A scrolling frame, what's so special about this is there's a scrolling bar. And really, you don't have to script anything for this. The scrolling bar is already scripted by Roblox, so that's great. I'm only talking about how to design GUIs in this tutorial, nothing about scripting. So anyways, let's go on to the next GUI object, and that's a text label. A text label is basically a label, with text. Like if we go to here, as it says, hit R to open inventory. One second, yeah. Hit R to open inventory, that's text label. Then, so I can put text here. Hit R to open inventory. Back on transparency. And if I make the text color different, and scale up this text, and let's change the font maybe. Boom, something like this. I'm going to make the font something else actually. Swiss ends light, yeah, something like this. It's very simple and easy to make. I know I did that pretty fast, but I'm going to explain all the properties and everything, but I just want to show you how a text label is right now. Next, a text button. It's basically the same, except it has a button property, and when you script it, it'll be a functioning button. We'll just put it inventory, some color. I'm just going to make this quickly. Scale. Actually, let's not make it text scaled. Whenever you do text scaled, that means as big as your box is, like this text button, how small it'll make the text fit when you make your button, like for example this big. The text will also change in size. Now, you don't want to do that all the time. I recommend using the text size property and not the text scale property. So make it 36. You can go from a range of 1 to 100. 100 is the max, 1 is the least. You can barely see 1, so I recommend going in a 24 to 48. For this box, I'd recommend a 48 to 60. And maybe even 72. Yeah, 72. I wouldn't go higher than 72 for this. But that's just something like this, a button. Now if I scripted it, as I said, I'm not even covering how to script these things. I don't know how to script Lua, so yeah. If I put a frame in or something, like if I put a frame right here, let's put a frame in. I'm just not naming these as of now, as I'm just trying to show a quick practice of this. This frame would open up. When you click it, this would open up. Imagine this is the inventory UI, but there's the inventory UI is not going to be just a white rectangle or something. Of course not. And then finally we have image buttons. Oops. Text boxes. Text boxes, you can just type in text wherever. Like, even if you put in some text to start with, you can click on it and you can change it to whatever you want. So, like, if you have a code UI, people would tell you to type in the code. This would be a text box, and I'd say maybe the code would be, there will be a base already. Type your code here. For example, if something like this was here, you could just click on it, like, yeah, you could just click on it literally, and type in maybe first game ever for our team. Maybe that was the code, and there would be a redeem button and things. But this is what the text button would basically be for. You can type in text. It's just a text box. When there's already base text, you can type in text. Like, you can change the text for it, like, directly, automatically. Next, let's view image buttons. Image buttons are basically, if you put in an image from your files, then you would just give it a button property. Well, it has the button properties already. You just script it to make it work. So an image label is basically just like this, except it doesn't have a button property. So that's basically the 7 objects there are and the 3 GUIs. Now let's just make a simple user interface. Well, a graphical user interface. So let's open up a frame. Now, positions. When you're talking positions, you want the frame on the middle of your screen. So the position would be, you do not have to have these like square brackets, these parentheses, I guess, square parentheses. You do not need to have these when you're typing in the position. So 0.50, 0.50, it's not completely at the middle yet, so you would use the anchor point. The anchor point position takes the position isn't perfect yet. The anchor point basically makes your GUI objects perfectly positioned where you want it to be. So 0.5, 0.5, oops, not 0.5, 0.54, 5, 0.5, boom, you have it exactly in the middle. Now, I do have it, but I'm going to resize it, so the position is going to change a little, but let's just resize it a little here. This is how big I want it. Now, I'm going to go to the, let's see, position, and we're just going to change that 0.543 to 5. There. Perfect. Now, I want to change my border size pixel. I don't want this thick. I just don't want this border around my frame. So simply just type in the border size pixel property, and you'll see it in your property section. And you can make it as thick as you want. 100's the max, I think. Yeah, you can't go higher than 100. And 1's the lowest. Well, 0 is actually the lowest. I don't want any borders, so I'm going to make it 0. You can make it maybe like 3 or 5 if you do want a thick border around your frame. I'm just going to make it 0 because I do not. Now, go to background color. You can make the transparency of this. Like, it'll be white still, but it's just more transparent. Like, if I had a background color, maybe like this blue, kind of teal. This teal color is more transparent though. It's not the full color there. Now if I take the transparency and make this 0, what will happen is the full color will show and it won't be that transparent. there will be literally no transparency. Now, I'm going to put a text label in this. Oh yes, name your frame whatever you want. I'm going to name it shop base. Then I'm going to put in a text label. Go to background transparency and make it to 1. You don't want that white stuff showing, so you're just going to do that, unless you do. You could change the color of it, of course, but I don't even want any background color for my text label. Now go to text color 3, and I know how to use RGB colors a little. If you are not familiar with that, and you are familiar with HTML hex codes, you could also type it here in the HTML box, or you could simply click on the square and make it whatever color you want. I'm going to make mine white. Alright. Now, let's make the text size 20. No, I want to make it 24. Then, if you want, just make it text scaled, if that's suitable for you. Yeah, I think I'll go text scaled. Not all the time you want to do this, remember. I'm just trying to make it as basic as possible. So now, well, not as basic as possible, but I just want to make it basic right now. And we can name this title, this text label. I'm going to change the font. All you have to do is type in font, and the font property will show. And I'm going to make this Gotham bold. No, Gotham semi-bold. That's good, but actually, I think I'm going to go source and semi-bold here. Yeah, that's good. Now, let's make an X button, a close button. Make a close button and an open button. Remember to put the title into your frame. The frame should be in the GUI, and the frame, the text label should be in the frame. Now, you want to put a text button in your frame. Now, change the text. I'm going to make it X, and I'm going to resize it. You can use the size property, but if you don't want to, you can just use these 8 squares right here to drag and resize. Then put it at the corner and make your text scaled if you want. I'm not going to this time, and instead I'm going to make it maybe a 28. Yeah, and I'm actually going to make the square a little smaller. Background color, I'm going to give it a light red. And the text color, I'm going to make it a white actually. And maybe for the font, we can go SOSN's light, maybe. Yeah. Let's go for light, and simply, let's take off the border for this, and we'll name this close button. We'll name this button close button. Close button. Okay, now let's just take this close button and put it up here. And finally, you just have to make a open button. Have the close button and your title, your text label and text button in the frame. And the frame should be in the GUI, the starter GUI. In starter GUI, you should have your screen GUI. In the screen GUI, you should have your frame. And in your frame, you should have the objects you need. I just needed a text label and a text button. Now finally, I'll need an open button, but that's not going to be in the frame. So right here, I'll just name open. I'm not going to, well actually I'm going to name it shop. Let's go click on, we'll name this open button. And we'll put the background color to maybe, I don't know, a blue? No, yeah, a blue. Like a cyan blue. Then we'll put text size to 24. Text color 3 to 255, 255, 255 for white. And then I'm going to make my text, well, font, bold to source sans bold. No, source sans semi-bold. And that's basically about it. Then I don't want my border, so I'll just put border size pixel to 0. Now, well, I believe I put this in here. Oops, not in starter pack. The shop base needs to be in your open button, because if you scripted it, for example, you'll need it to be right there. Let's just put it in the middle. There, boom. So that's about it for this tutorial. Now, finally, I'm going to show you 2 plugins that are really nice to have. Roundify. This plugin will give rounded corners to your frame or whatever GUI object. And autoscale light for GUIs. This autoscale light is basically to resize your GUIs to make them mobile compatible. And the tutorials, I'll have all of this linked in the description. This was a lot to take in, I know that. 26 minutes, okay, that was a lot, definitely. I'm just going to make this whole GUI invisible by going to the enabled property in your for your screen GUI and make enabled false. Now everything's disappeared. And yeah, that's gonna be about it for this video. I hope this tutorial helped in some way. And I do want to show you how Roundify works. So I'm just going to put in another screen GUI. Well, actually, no need. I'm just going to put in another frame. And now what I'm going to do is make this GUI enabled. The screen GUI. Then this frame, I'm just going to put border size pixel to 0. If I go to my plugins, click on Roundify, just click Roundify, I have rounded corners. Now, cool thing about this, you can make circles, circular GUI objects in Roblox by simply going to scale type and making it crop. This is just for a frame. It's cool, definitely. You can make it circular. Just this only works for frame. You cannot use slice or else it won't work. But for everything else, fit, stretch, and tile, they'll work. For if you used a button, for example, you can't make it circular. Like maybe crop won't work. So you're just going to have to experiment with that. But because I don't want to make it longer than this, but that's a cool thing you can do. And with autoscale light, I'll have a full-on, I'll just link you the tutorial, the full-on tutorial. And I'll link you the Roundify tutorial as well. I'll link the plugins tutorials and the plugin links so you can download them. And that's about it for this tutorial, everyone. I hope this helped somehow, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.